What's going on, brothers and sisters? Can you not be so sarcastic every time you talk to us? We kind of want you to treat us seriously. Not a whole lot was done in my time off this week. Why not? Well, yesterday was a busy day helping someone move from one state to another. Even though it wasn't very far, it's like an hour. We're so close to the fucking border. I'm just tired. Just fucking tired. A lot of lifting. A lot of fucking lifting. My body is aching. And guess what I gotta do tomorrow? A lot of lifting. A lot more lifting. Man, it's physically exhausting. I don't know how people work out all the time. It's like so annoying to constantly be sore like this and to like, too much. You gotta eat so much. You have to drink so much. It's just a lot. Like, fuck this, man. So I didn't really get a lot of time to sit here to work on the book at all. But I will say this. We are in the final, at least for Eris's story, that's the fucking crazy thing. We're going to be in the last movement, I'll call it, after the big revelation that he has, and he realizes what he must do, and now he must go off, and then the story kind of goes to this peak and this climax, and we're going to end on a cliffhanger. That's where I'm at on the reread and the reconfiguring. So as you've probably heard me say in the past videos, I've been very much stuck in that temple thing. We found our way out. Now Eris is I figured all that stuff out that I made mention of, like how I'm going to make the visions and stuff work and the labyrinth of the mind. We figured that out. He has been reborn, at least for the first time, and now he must save his friends, right? Well, that's where we're at right now in the reread, at least for Eris, and from that point, I'm going to begin the process of working on Nahum afterward, or I'm going to start copying it onto the computer. So I can actually take physical paper, and like, you know what I mean, sentences and paragraphs, and switch them all around, because there's some things that need to be switched around here in better order. But suffice to say, book 2 has come along quite well in its from its really raw form. And I've also come to a lot of realizations with Nahum, actually. And it has a lot I have to thank, once again, as usual, Joseph Campbell, for helping me realize Nahum's journey and his path, what he's going to do. And to put it really simply, he must be the character that embodies something a little different than Eris. Eris is a self-exploration to become this hero, and to either accept or deny the prophecy, and to be either the savior of the world or the destroyer of the world. Nahum, the other lead character, I finally realized that his hero's journey will be that of confronting his father. Will that be seeking to surpass him in some way, shape, or form, get out of his shadow, but also confront the goddess and confront this feminine thing inside of himself and on the outside. He goes into the other world and is greeted by the goddess, and he has to atone for a lot of the sins he's made. And he comes face to face with the realization of how he truly feels about a childhood friend, now companion, and their strange relationship, and how much he actually cares for her. And that story will go forward and blah blah blah. I'm not going to ruin it. I guess it never really occurred to me. I had to really dwell on this for quite a while. Can you just a moment? Let's go. We're done. We're done. We're done. You can't keep just scraping the side of the fucking box expecting it to work. Where'd you go? Where'd you come from? Where'd you go? Cotton-eyed yo. Alright. Oh. You do your videos not wearing pants? Yeah, all the time. What the hell would I wear pants for? I'll put on a fucking censored blankie for you. How's that? So anyway, I've come to a realization of how to look at some Eris scenes because of this book, Hero of 1,000 Faces, by Joseph Campbell, and Nahum's true purpose. And it's very much in line with, like I said, meeting of the goddess in the trials section, and coming to terms with the idea of the replacement of the mother with the mother usurper or the mother destroyer. And that is this other character named Vasha. And there's just going to be this complex relationship from Nakum's point of view. At the same time, he's always living under his father's shadow. His father was aiding Eris in book 1, but was sent off into another realm. And in another realm, the ghost of his father is aiding Nakum. So Nakum is kind of coming to terms with that, his past. And he's coming to terms with why he ran away from his past and why he wanted to forge a new one. And how no matter what he does, he's always locked to this prophecy alongside Eris. And though he does want to help Eris because he's starting to care for the kid, in some ways he's very angry that he's being forced to do all this stuff. And a lot of that has to do with his role in his life. Coming to terms with his mother, coming to terms with his father, and coming to terms with his relationship with the feminine side within himself and within the women that he's cared for. And it's got to change him in order to begin, because that's the small story, but the large story is to begin the process of being guided by the queen. And the queen is trying to save the Forgotten King. Flash over to Eris, kind of the masculine side. The Forgotten King is telling Eris how angry he is with her because he thinks she betrayed him, and how he wants her gone because he's maddened. He's in the realm of creation going crazy. So you'll see this kind of confliction of a male perspective of the feminine and masculine duality fighting each other later on, and how it shouldn't be, how there should be a union. And I've tried to write it in such a way that the characters that are aiding Nakum are also really wanting to aid Eris, but there's another confliction there. I'm trying to build as much depth of confliction as I possibly can. And so you begin to see why when I'm telling you, like, yeah, I'm trying to do all this stuff, it's just a lot going on. It's a lot to keep straight, and I just really don't want to drop all this. If I do this right, I really think people will find it very fascinating. That's if I do it right. But as of right now, I'm doing it by myself, so I don't really have any aid in this journey. I'm just going it alone, man, and hoping to God that something, at least if I have an objective, I at least want to be able to hit like 10% of it, you know what I mean? 100% is to make people feel the truth of what I'm trying to say. But if I could just get 10%, you know, like, that's going to just have to do. So a lot of this journey for me has just been so difficult because of the ambition that I have for the overall story. How each character represents aspects of humanity, thoughts, spiritual ethics, and our belief systems, our idea of what's right and wrong, good and bad, you know, morality as a whole, but also the mythology that hides within all that. Like, what is this struggle that we constantly find ourselves on in the human race? And how it's all always tied together. How one event, as in the event that happens with Dove in the Forgotten series, just because of decisions he makes, it affects all the way down to Eris, some lowly little fucking peasant boy who's in the middle of the entirety of the storm, we could say, that is the Titans against the Aeon. I wanted to connect it all because for me, as I've explored history, I've really noticed every little event's connected to another, and all the things that happen in each event serves the purpose inside of it to really bring about the idea that there is a connection. When you watch something, like for me, watching Ken Burns documentaries really helps bring that in. When I watch the stuff about Benjamin Franklin, the documentary about that man's life, then I follow that up by watching the Civil War series. Then I follow that up with watching baseball and the Wild West and the one about the Prohibition, and, you know, keep going forward to Vietnam and blah, blah, blah. When you see it all together, just in American history, you're just like, holy fuck, you see the connections. You got to kind of make them yourself, events that happened in the 1700s and how they affected the 18, how that affected World War II, the war that happened, that one. I don't know if he ever did one about World War I. I'm not sure why he did, but he totally should. And all these events are just, you watch his series in a row and you start to see it's all connected. It's all because of each other. And it's a pity sometimes. Sometimes it's like a long thing coming. Like, man, if they wouldn't have just done that, then it wouldn't have been a fucking big deal. We wouldn't be here. So, as I've been noticing that just with that man's fucking series, I thought, well, that's got to be something that I explore in the books as well. So one small decision, like the decision that Dove made with Aruan in episode 5, I think, or 4, that's going to lead to a cavalcade of events that is felt all the way down until Eris's time, when he's looking out into the bay and he sees all the ships coming into Aval and going, and this massive trade network, and it affects even that. Like, why that's all even there in the first place is because of Dove's fault. Do you know what I'm saying? And when I start to introduce new characters like Quinlan, you'll start to see really how it's their decisions have caused this entire thing to happen. And the idea will be, what would have happened if he would have said no, kind of mentality, right? If he would have not listened or done what he was supposed to do, or whatever happens to be, if he would have listened, just like all mythologies, they always warn you, don't do this one thing. And then the character's always like, I will not. All of a sudden it flashes them doing it, right? That's how storytelling works. And I wanted to kind of show that my way of like, because of the mistake you made, look what's going to happen going forward. And it's always a decision. It's always a decision, because that's generally what it is. Because to me, making a decision means you're acting in the world. So if I bring you to a situation and I ask you to make a decision, your decision is a reaction which affects the world, big and small. No matter what it is, it will affect the world. And a lot of people are trying to be like me, where they don't want to make decisions. They don't want to affect the world. They don't want to make... Basically, what that feels like is, now I'm putting my foot in this world and I don't want to. I'm trying to step out, right? In my case, I'm trying to go fully spiritual. I'm trying to find the imaginary. I'm trying to find the other world, the Christians would call it the heaven, right? That's what I'm looking for. I want that shit. I want after. But there are times where I must make decisions that keep my foot in this world, the world of the mortals, the world where decisions truly matter. And no matter what you do, someone thinks you're wrong, someone thinks you're wicked, you're evil, someone thinks you're good and righteous. There's always people out there that'll hook on you for whatever decisions you seem to make. You see it all the time in documentaries about like famous people or famous events. They just judge their decisions so easily, and they have such opinions about it, right? It's just one fucking person in time going like, I don't know, maybe I won't write that. And then 100 years later, everyone's like, man, the fact that he didn't write that. And then, you know what I'm saying? It's fucking weird like that. So every decision you make, people want a piece of it. Or like watching Benjamin Franklin, and there was he went to London and he brought a couple slaves with him, but one of them escaped. And I don't know, that it was and he put out an ad like, yeah, you know, one of my slaves escaped. Here's a general description of him and please find him. And the shit people glean from that with their modern sensibility. He didn't do that because he truly didn't like slavery. And the real reason was and then they try to reach for this modern sensibility when probably in fact he's probably like, I don't got time to fuck around with this. I'll just get another one. But people read into it, right? Because you made a mortal decision in this earthly plane, and then everyone wants a piece, and so they're gonna find whatever they want in it. You see it a lot in our modern rhetoric about race and stuff, right? It's I don't know. It's a whole ass thing. We don't need to be going into that shit, because God fucking forbid we do. Now, it's so insane to me to think about all this stuff and to try and ponder, how can you recreate this in a imaginary sense, like this book I'm writing, and how can that affect every aspect of the characters going forward? Big and small, large and tall, you know? It was very difficult to try to find this compromise of how I can do this, but at the very same time, since I'm doing it alone, this is why it's taken so fucking long. And I think another reason why it's taken so long is just I just don't have the mind, man. Like, I feel sometimes I feel like I'm overstepping my natural state. my natural state is to be this simple fucking kid from the Midwest that watches the Lions and the Tigers and Red Wings and works in a factory and is saving up for new rims for his F-150 so I can, you know, get a lift kit on it, and then maybe I'll get me a Flowmaster. Maybe I'll get a Flowmaster so my truck's really loud and stuff. And I'll talk about how I have a 4.6 and I'm trying to upgrade to a 5.0, and you know, I in theory should be that, playing cards with other guys and drinking beer all the time, which is my entire surrounding. That's what everyone's like out here. In theory, that's what I should be doing. So I think that's why it's so difficult for me to go about this mythological, learned approach, is because I have nothing around me that wants to do this too. And I'm learning that everyone I've ever known is just following what they're told to do. And I feel like I'm the only one questioning reality so intently. As in, when I have questions about the world around me, I'm not just Googling what organization I want to believe in, what they think, and just copy pasting it. I'm truly trying to find it for myself, and I didn't realize I was the only one doing this. I know that there are people that might watch this that come from bigger cities and shit, where you're surrounded, like, you know, some people in LA. It's easier for people like that because it's all around them. People that are more than, I mean, they are simple, stupid people, but there's a different level to it. You know what I mean? People in a city are different than people in the country. That doesn't make them smarter or better. It's just they're in tune with some other things that us country folk aren't. But inside of that, it's where artists will flock. And so I think it's easier to do that in big cities because other people like mine are flocking to the city. Well, for me, I fucking hate the city. I don't like buildings and traffic and roads, and I just fucking despise that shit. So I'm not gonna go flock to some fucking city. So it makes it kind of really on your own, you know? Sitting there driving and just like yesterday, just staring at vast fields. Just fields that just stretch on forever of crops. Smatterings of trees here and there. And all my mind thinks is, wow, it's so flat here. There's no great waterways. There's no mountains. There's not even big hills. It's just flat land. Flat crops as far as the eye can see. And the trees in the distance are young growth because they've been cut down so many times. Agriculture. Farm animals. All I ever see. Chickens running on the sides of the roads. And goats and horses and you name it, man. Like, to see that is to be in tune with the nature, but at the same time you're trying to become in tune with the nature of man, and the nature of man seems to dwell inside of religions and large dwellings of the urban areas and philosophies. But when you look around, at least where I come from, you don't find any of that. It kind of forces you to search for yourself. It kind of makes you think like, well, fuck it then. I guess I'll find my own shit. And that journey has just been quite difficult in the case of, well, who else am I going to do this with? Like, I can drag people with me, but if I wasn't there, they wouldn't be doing this shit. Nothing against them. Anyone that I know, like, no, nothing against them. But if I wasn't doing this shit, they wouldn't be doing it. I know that. So in some sense, I kind of feel bad about that. Like, I don't want to I'm not trying to manipulate people and make them follow me on this shit, but you're next to me, so you're going to at least passively be kind of connected to this shit. And I don't know. It's been very difficult to try and do this, because as I've told you, at the end of the day, the point of me writing this mythology, the story of Eris, is to discover myself. And shit, man, I've discovered a lot of things. I mean, you watch my videos and how they progress from when my first one compared to now. Like, look at the difference. Look at the fucking difference in that. Or like what I did recently to kind of get in tune with what I was writing, so to get ready for the rewrite. I have my series called the Writing Series, and that's chronicling from day one to when I finish the first draft, and kind of goes forward of what it was that day. I'll talk about day one of writing, and this is just what's going on in my mind. I'll talk about it, and you'll see me slowly progress. And as I was watching that, I was like, man, I've come so far. It's really cool to see how far I've come in my thoughts and my things that I'm believing and the stuff I'm trying to do. And this book is growth. And I've started to see a different world with the, because of this channel, the people that it attracts, man. There's like, you know, maybe a few people that have actually tried to reach out to me beyond a comment, and I love that. And I've been talking to them, and they've been really helping me just expand my horizon a little bit. Whether I agree with them or disagree, it's not about that. It's about, give me something new. Give me something new to think about. And from people talking about occult stuff to more nature-oriented kind of pagan-y stuff to just your average normal fucking person that likes to write every once in a while. Or someone that's had some traumatic experiences that kind of give you a glean in what that's like to be in another life. Or other genders, you know, like that's fun too. I love learning about things from women. I just enjoy that. It's so cool because I get to get a new perspective. So it's opened my eyes up in that way, and I'm so very grateful to all of that. And just some of the crazy, I say crazy, but I really mean cool, like crazy cool. Maybe it's older, I don't know if kids talk that anymore, but in a really cool way of learning about the spiritual world and what possibly is going on in this realm here, and what we are and how time is. And I really do sense that no matter what comes with our world, I do feel like we're in the midst of a renaissance. It's budding, you know what I mean? Because the world's so full of manipulation and control. I mean, you gotta think, man, people are being forced what to think now. That's not right. Like to go on YouTube and have an opinion and like being blocked for it. And then they say, well, no, it's against our user, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you're blocking freedom of speech. I thought we all wanted to integrate with the machine. Does that mean eventually you're going to censor people's thoughts because people are integrating with the machine? Who's going to buy thoughts now? Does Google own thought? Like, we're going in that route, and no one really sees that. And I love talking about this shit with people. That's why I'm such an advocate about like saying what you want and not following rhetoric because you're supposed to. It's like, dude, eventually there's gonna come a time where your thoughts are sold, and before you have a thought, you gotta watch a fucking ad. You know what I'm saying? And it's like you're not even real because your thoughts were invented by some guy so just in case you spot something that's racist, you need to make sure here's the thought that you have. It's all manipulations. That's what it's gonna be. And so I figured right now, the renaissance of like the last vestige of humanity, of what does a real person think and feel? What is a real person like before they were manipulated? What is someone like that isn't just following some bullshit? Someone like me, who doesn't have his allegiances to anything. No religion, no philosophy, no culture. I don't have nothing that I'm like, well, I got to make sure I censor it in such a way. Like, no, man. I'm a true free man in that sense of my mind. My body, not so much. My body's a slave to the material world, of course, but my mind isn't. And so I wanted to kind of shine a light on that, like how I've got here. And along the way, what were things that we talked about? And things that came up to me, and then you can see the comment section of what other people were adding to it. And we can begin to understand, like, just in case it gets that bad, as I described, how do we get back to this? And honestly, the easiest way is to stop fucking playing the game. Don't play. That's all you gotta do. Some people might ridicule you for it. Some people might try to hurt you for it, but don't play. But out of all that I just said, the main story of my characters, for instance, in this case, as I'm talking about Eris and Nahkum, How does a man make his choices when it feels like the world is forcing him to be a certain way? When it feels like gods are forcing him to be a certain way? What is his real intention in this world? And most importantly, when you're given the choice of continuing and to play and to be part of this world and to see the rise of man, the rise of the machine, and us going to space, and us doing all these profound things in medical science and terraforming, you name it, the future. Whether you choose that or you choose to destroy it all and to say it wasn't meant for us in the first place. When you come to that end, what choice do you make? And I want to show you what choice my character makes. That way you can see that you've always had one the entire time. It's just, did you make it or not? Did you make it? Or did it make you? It's something that we don't really come to terms with too often. Did this world make me or did I make it? And by the world I mean your belief systems, your thoughts, everything that swirls in your head. And even, are the thoughts that swirl in your head your own? Or they come from somewhere else? Are you really who you think you are? Or are you who you thought you were? It's, to me, there's nothing better than doing all this. I thoroughly enjoy it. I'm so ecstatic to see the progression of this story, so that one day I can look back and say, man, that was the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life, but I'm almost done. I'm really looking forward to that day. But until then, I'm just going to be tired. I'm going to keep working. I'm going to overdo it. I'm going to have no energy. But I'm not going to give up. Nothing's holding me back besides myself. And I can't do that anymore because there's no point. Because I can't go backwards. I can only go forward. Minds will make a chronicle of it along the way to show people how to be a human being, so one day they'll realize that they weren't, and they'll try desperately to find that humanity inside them once again. Or not. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about all this. Who fucking knows?